I'm gonna talk about Sha'Carri, Tabitha versus Wendy, the revival of By Felicia, and Lovecraft Country Season 2, or the lack thereof. What's the crack, family? It is your girl T, aka Nappy-Headed Jojoba. Not Nappy, not Jojoba. Nappy-Headed Jojoba. You have to say the whole thing. It's like a Tribe Called Quest. I am back with what I'm calling lukewarm tea, at least for now. I did one of these last week or the week before, I think. But then legit the next day, a bunch of stuff happened in the news that I just want to chat about. Plus, the last time I looked at that video, it had like 20,000 views or something. And that's the first time I've done a video that didn't completely tank in a minute. So I guess that means y'all don't mind if the tea is not scalding hot. Which is really dope because I haven't had the time to prep the next tea talk that I want to do. So being able to do videos like this lets me produce content on here even when my schedule and other commitments aren't trying to let me produce content on here. That's why I keep having to do so many get ready with me's actually. I need to kill two birds because lately the only time I can really sit down to film before I have to be somewhere or do something else these days is when I'm doing my drag. So first up, Sha'Carri Richardson. I talked about her in the last video, but I was really talking about misogynists giving their inconsequential appraisals of her. You know, her hair, her makeup, and her nails. All of that BS. And then I think the next day, maybe 2 days later, we found out that she got popped for weed. She tested positive for THC, marijuana. Marijuana's bad and good. So she is now disqualified from running what I think is her main event, the 100-meter dash in the Olympics. Now, a lot of people were outraged on both sides of this issue. There were the people who proudly wagged their finger at her saying she knew the rules, she broke the rules, as if they've never broken any rules ever in their entire lives. Then there were the hashtag protect black women folks who want to hashtag let her run, even though by her own admission, she knowingly smoked. Although I wonder if she actually smoked and didn't do edibles instead. She is an athlete and the way her lung capacity needs to be on point, I feel like edibles would have been a smarter and more likely choice, but that's neither here nor there. Point is, yet again, I feel like my take on this isn't really one that I'm seeing much in these social media screets, which is why I'm sharing it. Sha'Carri's mother died just before she had to run that qualifying race for the Olympics, which means that Sha'Carri was and still is grieving a tremendous loss. I'm not exactly team let her run, while I do think the rule is stupid because weed isn't even a PED. It's not a performance enhancing drug. If anything, the fact that she got high and then still smoked the competition, pun intended, makes her even more of a beast in my opinion. So again, I think the rule is stupid and it should be abolished, but I also think the entire Olympics should be abolished. That is an entire rant unto itself. Truly, it wouldn't even be one video, but a series of videos. But the IOC is an anti-black, anti-brown, anti-poor organization with a long history of displacement, dispossession, and disenfranchisement. Beneath the surface, the Olympics has almost nothing to do with athletics. It is entirely about making rich people richer while also increasing police presence, state surveillance, state violence against black folks. And actually a great case study is how the 1984 Olympics in LA led to the conditions that facilitated the riots in 92. It is a linear path of cause and effect. Therefore, I don't want any Olympics anywhere because we don't need them. We can come up with better ways for athletes to compete and achieve that don't involve them being used as a diversion to increase anti-black state violence. Again, a sidebar and complete tangent, which I only bring up to kind of contextualize my position on this particular issue with Sha'Carri and the weed. People love to throw around the word accountability a lot these days. Accountability is not interchangeable with punishment. And Sha'Carri has been fully accountable. It's a dumb rule. She broke the rule. She is being accountable to what she did, and she is accepting the punishment that goes with that. Frankly, because she has no choice. However, My stance is not exactly let her run. My stance is let her grieve. This young lady lost her mother and then went from the insane high of being the fastest woman on earth for a couple of days to being disqualified from competing in the biggest race of her life. Put it this way, she knew the risks when she did the weed, and she did it anyway. Imagine the pain and the anguish that she must have been feeling to literally risk it all just to get a little bit of relief from what she was going through after losing her mom. That alone should give you an inkling of how much she was hurting. So for the she knew the rules people who seem to get off on their own self-righteousness, because again, she's being accountable and she's being punished, so why pile on? Why chime in if you have nothing to add except further condemnation? She knows, she copped to it, she's being punished. Be quiet. Let her grieve. Shit, I can't stand the internet sometimes. Tabitha Brown. Sis is neither the one nor the two. Alright, so let me break this one down if you don't know what happened. Wendy Williams. Wendy was doing her Hot Topic segment sometime last week, maybe the week before, I don't recall. And one of the stories in the segment was about Tabitha Brown. I only found out who Tabitha Brown was relatively recently. I only learned about her when one of the girls on Drag Race 13 did a terrible impression of her for Snatch Game. Obviously not the best introduction to Tabitha Brown, but she's pretty big on Instagram. I don't know if she's a vegan chef as well, but her bio describes her as an actress. Anyway, she seems lovely, super positive vibes, all of that. But then here comes Miss Wendy doing her Hot Topics the other day, talking about how Tabitha's husband is quitting his job as a cop, I believe. I'm not getting into that. In any event, he is leaving his square job, again, I believe as a cop, to pursue his dreams because Tabitha's career has taken off enough to allow them to have the financial stability for him to do this. Right, so because Wendy's ex-husband was also her ex-manager, she had a lot to say about how this was a bad move for Tabitha, and Wendy was very disapproving of Tabitha supporting her husband in this move, basically saying that her husband is an opportunist waiting to happen, he's a mooch, etc. Well, Miss Brown heard tale of this, and she read Wendy like a Bible. And I say that because it was the most Christian woman of God read that you have ever seen, which low-key made it even more savage.
First of all, Wendy Williams, honey, God bless you. God bless you, okay? And so people sent me a little clip, and I said, oh my God, the pain this woman must be in. Wendy, the pain you must be in to feel this way, and I'm so sorry. But listen, let me tell you this. 23 years I've been with my husband. Yes, broke for a very long time together. He took a job 15 years ago to help support my dream. And I know you may not know what that looks like in a genuine place. And he did every year with me with rejection and no's in this entertainment industry, right? However, God has blessed me. He has allowed me to manifest. I've been praying on this for a very long time, and it has now come to pass. I pray that love finds you, true love.
I have my own feelings about Christianity, or more accurately, people weaponizing Christianity. So many of the greatest evils in the history of mankind were perpetrated in the name of Jesus, after all. But we won't dwell on that. But the internet, me included, were thoroughly entertained by Tabitha's read. It was just so much shade wrapped up in sugar. It's still up on Instagram. I'll link it in the D box, as well as the segment from Wendy's show, so you can see what was said in the first place. Because Miss Tabitha was slick with them cuts, man. Someone even chopped up Tabitha's video and then put the beat to ether underneath it. I screamed. As if Tabitha's diss track wasn't enough, her fans also started spamming Wendy Williams' social media with avocado emojis. Avocados, I guess, on account of Tabitha being vegan, so I guess that's a symbol for the Veg hive. I don't know. Tabitha didn't tell them to do that, to go and spam Wendy's accounts, but she didn't condemn it either, which I do side-eye. On the one hand, Wendy asked for this smoke, but I really don't like it when people weaponize their audiences, having been on the receiving end of that a few years ago. Shout out to Gage Girl. But since Tabitha reposted posted screenshots of the avocado emoji spamming and was full on keying about her fans doing this. I think that's worth clocking. Anyway, truth be told, I don't dislike Wendy Williams. I am well aware that there are a lot of people who do, but I don't really know enough about whatever she did back in the 90s or whenever to piss so many people off. And when I do watch clips of her show on YouTube, I do find it entertaining. Sometimes for the wrong reasons, I admit. I don't know, I just enjoy her as background noise to have on while I'm washing dishes or whatever. So even though Tabitha was, in my opinion, being shady as fuck, but packaging it as sweet, leave it to a Christian to say something like, I'm praying for you, but what they're really saying is, go fuck yourself. But as an outside observer with no skin in the game, I detected no lies in Tabitha's read. And I don't think Wendy Williams has, nor will she ever, in my opinion, respond. I don't think Wendy Williams can necessarily compare Tabitha's relationship to her own relationship with her ex-husband, who, if you didn't know, had an entire baby on her and was generally known to have been cheating on Wendy for years. I imagine Wendy is still in a lot of pain from that, and she may always be, regardless of the bravado that we see on Hot Topics. As an outside observer, so this is based purely on hunch, I suspect that Wendy likely felt unloved for a very long time privately in that marriage, only to then be humiliated very publicly at the end of it. Okay, Felicia Rashad. Felicia, if you want to preserve patriarchy rather than dismantle it, just say that. I'll catch you up on this too, although I can't imagine any of y'all have not heard or read about this already. Bill Cosby was released from prison because they fucked up the case that put him in the prison. Editing tea here with one of my rare pop-ins while I'm editing, but I just wanted to clarify, this should already be perfectly and abundantly clear, but I am not a lawyer. This is just my understanding of everything that has transpired that led to Cosby being released from prison. So this is just based off of articles and things that I have read. This is not based off of me having any actual legal expertise. He is only out because he is rich and famous. Let's make that clear. He is not out because he has been exonerated in any way whatsoever. One of the 60 some odd women who he assaulted, I guess we now have to say allegedly, she attempted to bring charges against him in, I think, 2004, allegedly. Because and only because Bill Cosby was Bill Cosby, a rich, famous man with power and influence, the DA at that time didn't want the smoke and saw to it that there would be no criminal trial. Bill Cosby being a rich and famous man is also why deranged people think that caping for a serial rapist means that they're staying on code. They are defending Bill Cosby because he is a celebrity. We know this because if these people actually cared about defending black men who were wrongfully accused, they'd be highlighting any number of cases from the Innocence Project and not peddling dumbass conspiracies for a man who had dozens of accusers over several decades. So in this particular case, Cosby settled for $3 million or so. I think it was a bit more than that, and this was in a civil trial. And in that trial, Cosby essentially snitched on himself in his testimony. He cut a deal with the prosecutors that said that whatever he said under oath could not be held against him later on. In other words, despite incriminating himself up, down, and sideways in that civil suit, he was immune from any criminal charges being brought against him after the fact. Because of this deal, they straight up weren't allowed to prosecute him for this particular instance of the, again, dozens of times where he, word that starts with R and rhymes with taped, women, allegedly. And guess what? This is all fair game in a system that is designed to protect moneyed and powerful men. It's the legal equivalent of I am rubber, you are glue, whatever you say bounces off of me and sticks to you. Which is why not only is Cosby out of the pokey, but according to the rules of this extremely fucked up game, he has a valid case to sue for false imprisonment. I keep forgetting to look up whether Hannibal Buress has weighed in on this yet, because he was one of the people talking about Cosby way before anyone else had the balls to do it. Anyway, now, Phylicia Rashad, Claire Huxtable, regardless of how she felt about Cosby's release one way or the other, but especially because of how she did feel about it, what she should have said was nothing. Instead, what she did say was this. As you can imagine, outrage, except from the imbeciles who are still out here proudly defending Bill Cosby, R. Kelly, Chris Brown, etc. I'm sure I'll be blocking some of these people in the comments shortly. These are the same dipshits who took my Illuminati video literally. Anyone out here comparing Bill Cosby to Emmett Till is not pro-black, you are beyond help. Such a comparison is a disgrace to Emmett Till's memory, first of all. We all know that there are myriad instances where innocent black men and women have been railroaded and even killed for crimes that they did not commit. This is not one of those times. Two things can be true. Black men are, in fact, treated unfairly in the justice system by design. And there are also men, including black men, who rape women. Know the difference. Claire Huxtable should have just been quiet and ate her food, but now she's had to walk it back and act like she cares about survivors of word that rhymes with tape, when she obviously does not and really cares more about protecting her own legacy because it is tied up with that man's. So now people are calling for her to be removed from her new position as a dean at Howard. I don't know how I feel about that just yet, because in a sense, I feel like a lot of people are more mad at Phylicia Rashad for her shitty tweets than they are at Bill Cosby for people, allegedly. Hello again to our good friend Misogyn Noir. I do think that her apology sucked and that it's bullshit, but I guess this just goes back to the question of accountability versus consequences or punishment. For me, my stance with Felicia is just girl bye, literally bye Felicia. But I don't know, removing her from her deanhood at Howard, I don't know if that's too much, not enough, or what. Last up, I think it was yesterday or the day before yesterday, that news came out that Lovecraft Country would not be returning for a season 2 on HBO. Shit's canceled. I was really surprised at first, but then kind of not surprised at all shortly after that. I mean, I can look around and see that a lot of institutions and non-black people in general have decided that it no longer behooves them to pretend to care about black people now that hashtag Breonna Taylor is no longer trending. This is what happens. Remember a couple weeks ago when all of a sudden everybody pretended to care about Palestine for 5 minutes? I'm ready, but I want to finish talking about Lovecraft Country, so I'm going to place the awkward slow-mos awkwardly. They're normally at the end when I'm done, but we'll do them now because the beat is done, and then I'll finish this up. That's enough of that. All right, HBO Lovecraft Country Season 2. No clear reason was given for why they've canceled the show, but I do find it to be disappointing. Even though I thought the first season's second half was nowhere near as good as the first half of that season, it was just nice to have a show on HBO that was about black people. And I have heard from a lot of people that HBO is notoriously cheap, so this may have come down to money in the end. Decisions like this are pretty much always about money, so perhaps the team behind Lovecraft Country knew their worth and asked for it, and HBO just said fuck all that and then just pulled the plug. Again, I didn't love the show, particularly I didn't love the second half of the first season, but I definitely would have watched a second season. Maybe they'll be able to pull an Arrested Development and get it to air on another network like a Netflix or something, but I'm not gonna hold my breath. Anyway, I gotta run. I have a Zoom with my Patreon fam. We're doing a movie night like in 10 minutes, so I always feel like I'm rushing out of these get ready with me's. So I'm gonna have to spare you guys my rant on Canada and the government's response to the protesters up in Winnipeg who toppled that Queen Victoria statue on Canada Day. Long story short, it was the usual bullshit. The government was condemning the toppling of a fucking statue as an act of violence. Meanwhile, said statue was toppled as an act of protest to the government's perpetration of literal genocide. And then the government then has the nerve to point the finger and talk about violence. Are you fucking kidding me? On that note, you know what? Let's definitely wrap this up because my blood is getting hot again. Thank you so much for hanging with me all the way to the end for yet another lukewarm tea. If y'all keep watching these, I'll keep doing them. But until my next video, y'all stay safe, stay dangerous, and never trust anyone with a Morphe code. Bye-bye.
That's a nappy-headed hose there, I'm gonna tell you that now.